It is Thursday night here at the Politics Bar. Thank you, everybody who has joined us from whatever corner of the radio world you are. Remember, look, if you miss any part of the show, we got Dr. Annie Andrews here right now, and you're like, wait a minute, she's been here and I missed it? It's fine. Look, we got you covered. We have the podcast that you can download from thepoliticsbar.com. Look, if you pay the nice little fee, $6 a month, gets you the podcast ad-free, so you can listen whenever, wherever, no ads. Plus, you get the news on tap so you know what's going on in the news, and you get the drink of the day with the recipe. And you only get all of it for $6 a month. You can't even get a nice drink for $6 at any bar in South Carolina. I can guarantee it. Plenty of great bars there, just they got to make some money, folks. So look, best thing you could do is go subscribe at thepoliticsbar.com. Jody and I hanging out with Dr. Annie Andrews here, who we are very much hoping will be the next senator from South Carolina because...
Yes. I wish I could vote for you because I would.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You really, you seem to know exactly what you're doing. I don't have anything, and I think the rest of the campaign, especially for you, is probably going to be more focused on what you can do for people than focused on any of your, whoever it ends up being, whoever the Republicans pick in another couple weeks or whatever it is. And I think it should be about you because it should be about you and it should be about the people of South Carolina.
Yeah.
About the things that they need. Look, as you said, there are a lot of people there who are on Medicare, on Medicaid, have had ACA support that unfortunately because of the Republicans has been cut. All these things cut. And of course, we know as a pediatrician, you saw a lot of kids. What's been the effect of RFK Jr. and his ridiculousness as far as the
vaccines?
Yeah. What have you seen so far? What are you seeing and hearing?
Well, the day he was nominated to lead HHS was the day I really seriously started thinking about getting into this race. Because before that, I had a few people suggesting that maybe I could, run against Lindsey Graham in 2026. And I was like, no, thank you, not interested. Mostly because my kids are young. My kids are 14, 11, and 9. And I thought, I've done this once. It would make way more sense for me to just keep being a pediatrician and maybe someday run again in 10 years or whatever. But right. The day he was nominated, I understood the urgency of the moment we are in as a nation. RFK Jr. has been my professional arch nemesis for decades. Many of my pediatrician colleagues would say the same thing. Wow. He is nothing more than a grifter and a conspiracy theorist who's been peddling an anti-vaccine conspiracy theories for decades, simultaneously enriching himself. And those conspiracy theories are directly responsible for the measles outbreak we had here in South Carolina, where we had nearly 1,000 cases of documented measles infection. There's been children who have died abroad and here in America because of this anti-science, disinformation campaign coming from RFK Jr. And it's been an all-out assault since he ascended to lead HHS. And, what happened earlier this week with the new executive order dismantling the routine childhood immunization schedule, specifically recommending that we separate the MMR vaccine into 3 separate vaccines, which there is no scientific basis to do that. It is safe and effective in its current form.
And we don't even produce them separately in this country, do we, right?
We don't.
Yeah.
Minor detail. And then he also just said that you should only get 1 shot per visit. Which, if anybody's ever taken children to the doctor for shots, means you basically be going to the doctor every other week, which insurance companies won't pay for. Employers won't let parents leave work to take their kid to the doctor every other week. And kids can't miss that much school or whatever. It's based on no science. It's not an evolution of knowledge about evidence-based vaccine recommendations. It's just political opportunists and honestly, frankly, stupid people making public health policy recommendations for this country.
It's people adding their politics into your healthcare.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Jody. Thank you.
And that is why more doctors need to run for office, because politics came for us. They came for the practice of medicine. They came for our profession. You cannot fight bad politics by staying apolitical, which many doctors still think it's just noble to be apolitical. I'm not going to get involved. I'm not going to donate. I'm not going to talk about politics. You have to fight bad politics with good politics.
Oh, I love that. Jody, what do you always say about it?
Hey, if you don't do politics, politics does you.
Exactly. Look, you've got to get out there. We have a lot of phrases we say here at the bar, one of which is that right now America needs AA really bad. America needs AA. We need affordability and accountability. And these are two things. We also need sanity, because that would help to actually have, people in the federal government.
AAS, and we're almost to a word.
Yeah, not quite. Can't.
AA is also Annie Andrews, which America also needs. So
Yes.
Exactly. America does need. I'm 100% on board with that one. I also think, obviously, you've been in South Carolina a couple decades. Yes, people are like, maybe she wasn't born here. Maybe they're. I don't know if they are that way or not. Some campaigns, they're throwing that around. I'm like, you are very definitely a South Carolinian.
Come on.
Yeah. But my thought is, look, the military is important to a lot of folks who are in South Carolina. You got Parris Island there. You got Six Big Base. You got the base there in Charleston. Both the what is it? The Navy, Air Force, Coasties are there.
Mm-hmm.
How is this whole thing with the Abraham Lincoln affecting you? Because it's hitting me as a
you.
Well, yeah, because I'm a naval veteran and USS Lake Champlain out of San Diego, and it's ridiculous. As a doctor, you worked some of those 12 and 16 and 18-hour shifts occasionally because you had to. But can you imagine working 18-hour shifts for weeks at a time, not knowing when you're going to be done?
No. In service to this country, essentially being held hostage by this administration. No, it's so deeply un-American and grotesque, and a perfect example of what this administration has done to really every level of our federal government. We're just talking about vaccines and health and human services, and now we're talking about Pete Hegseth in his reign as a member of the cabinet. And I think about these soldiers, or these service members and their families, and not getting any answers, and then watching Pete Hegseth parade around filming workout videos, and
we were
God
just
knows
saying
what
the
else.
same thing. We're just saying the same. Great minds. I love that.
And, for me as a Democrat in South Carolina, trying to convince Republicans that my values are aligned with theirs, it really frustrates me to watch Republicans try to be the party of the military, the patriotic party, because nothing could be further from the truth. They not only have they dismantled, the VA healthcare system by federal hiring freezes. And I know so many doctors who love working at the local VA here who just couldn't do it anymore because there were no ancillary staff or nurses to help them do their job because of the federal hiring freezes. So we don't treat our veterans well when they come home from active duty. We make it very difficult for them to navigate the healthcare system or to even know that they qualify for healthcare benefits. And now we're treating them this way when they're in the middle of their active duty. America has fallen so far, so fast. And it's got to stop. And the only way, to your second A, accountability, we have to hold them accountable at the ballot box in November by voting for Democrats.
Amen.
That is, that's
a third A.
Well,
amen.
Amen. Exactly. But I do think that's what's necessary, is to make sure that people know there's going to be some accountability down the road, and that if they vote for Democrats, if they vote for somebody who understands systemic problems, who is willing to work, who is passionate about it, that they'll be able to look to you and other Democrats too. I know one of the people on your campaign, I think I was emailing back and forth about it, and some folks are obviously going to try to make the whole DSA or centrist thing, but we really don't think it's about that. It's about people who want to get stuff done.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Just like you do, just like doctors do every single day. To me, it's not at all about ideology. It's about work ethic. It's about having a moral compass, and it's about being pragmatic.
Right.
We are a big tent party, and we need to stay a big tent party, because a Democrat that fits well for South Carolina is not going to be a Democrat that fits well in, Illinois.
Or
it's
New
very
York or
different
California.
thing.
Right.
Or New York or California. And we need all of the kinds of Democrats if we want to win in places like South Carolina and Kentucky and Chicago and New York and California. And so we all just need to
and we need the independents and the center-right Republicans, like you used to say too, the old-fashioned Republicans. We call them like Michael Steele Republicans. I used to produce for Michael Steele's radio show. Back who they're still registered. They don't really like what Trump's doing. They don't really like what
I have friends.
Right. But they're like, I don't really want to be associated with Democrats, but I might vote for one if they were good enough.
That's right. I mean, that's my dad. You just described my dad. My dad, who lives here in South Carolina, is a South Carolina voter.
Hi,
Back
Dad.
in the 90s, he donated to Lindsey Graham. He hosted Republican fundraisers. And he's so disgusted by what has happened to his party, but he's never, I promise you, until the day he dies, he's never going to say, I'm a Democrat,
Right.
which is fine. But
Right.
he's rejecting the current iteration of his party by showing up in November and voting for Democrats. And he knows that's the most effective path to getting his old party back, to getting a center-right, reasonable, governing Republican Party back so that we can get back to an era of bipartisanship, because the people on the far left are never going to convince all of America to think like they think. That's just not going to happen.
True.
So we're always going to have to be able to come to the center, to compromise, to govern from the place where we can agree. And until we do that, we're just going to continue to have gridlock in Washington, D.C.
Right.
You're absolutely right. I have a friend from the first guy I met, freshman orientation, 1984. And he's a staunch Republican, right? But he voted for Hillary Clinton in 2016, and he voted for Joe Biden in 2020 because he knew that Donald was an existential threat.
Right. Look, it's people of all kinds and shapes. I mean, we've had Sherry Jacobus is a friend of ours. She's been to the bar, used to be a Republican strategist. Joe Walsh, former congressman, a former MAGA.
Joe Walsh almost got involved, almost primaried me, but he didn't, and he's been great.
We like Joe, and I'm glad he's supporting you too.
I'm glad he didn't primary you.
This is true too. But I'm also the whole thing I look at is I'm like, so we've got those people on the right who come and hang out with us, and then we've had Kat Abigazela here, a friend of mine from way before, up in Illinois, and we have Parker Malloy, great writer, who's obviously another Chicago. So we have this whole broad, like 70% spectrum that we allow to hang out in the bar with us, and which is fine. We just tell people, you can disagree, just don't throw chairs, because I mean, as you can see, it's a nice bar. But and I think that in my experience, when I'd driven through South Carolina, when I'd stopped, that was the general experience that I got. It was a kind of a laid back. It was a, hey, have some fun, be nice, whatever. Yeah. But you want to get stuff done. People who work hard, they want somebody who's working for them. And I got the impression that that's kind of that's been you before, but now we actually get to have you here in the bar, and I get that impression that you're like, this is great, this is fun, but when the ticker says time's up, I got to go do my work, and I got to go do the things that I got to do because I want to get stuff done for the people of South Carolina. And
I mean, you don't get into medical school or graduate from medical school or survive residency if you're not a hardworking person who just shows up and does the job, no matter how hard it is, no matter how tired you are. And it's been a real education to go from that kind of working environment to what happens in politics and watching what happens in Washington, D.C. Yeah. And we've got to change it. We've got to change it. And sending me to the U.S. Senate as the first pediatrician senator, the first elected female senator from the great state of South Carolina, would be a huge step in the right direction for us to return to a functional federal government.
It would be a huge step forward for the Palmetto State and for the United States. I freaking love that.
Absolutely. Dr.
Andrews, okay, so when the great people of South Carolina elect you, you want to come back to the bar and hang out? Or even God forbid they don't, anytime. You can always
I'll
come
have
back.
a lot more time to hang out at the bar if they don't elect me, but let's go with...
Let's hope you don't have time, but you'll fit us in where you can.
That's right. That's what it's going to be.
Folks can go to DrAnnieAndrews.com. We got the links in the guest section of the News on Tap today. Dr. Andrews, thank you so much for your time today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. It's been fun.
Awesome. Hey, look, John Fugelsang's coming in next, guys. We'll get to that drink of the day next. Hang on. Here we go.
We'll be right back after we pay some bills at the Politics Bar.